My name is Christine Haye, and I'm testifying on They Overcame By. My story began the day I left Florida to come to Oakwood. It was a tedious journey with my son, Christian. I'm a single mom, and everything was in order as I prepared to come to Huntsville, Alabama. I know nothing about this place, but I knew I was supposed to be at Oakwood University. Had arrangement with someone for my apartment. When I came, I was on Oakwood campus for hours waiting for someone to come and meet me. There was no one. Finally, when this lady responded like 6, 7 o'clock in the night, and this was in the mid of summer, it was so hot. And imagine me with a packed car with my young son. She told me, I'm still doing interview. And I'm like, can you be still doing interview when I'm supposed to be living with you? However, she left me stood up all night. She told me, you better just go by a hotel around the corner and spend that time. That wasn't in the original plan. However, I started to pray, and I said, God, you brought me to Huntsville not to leave me alone. And not knowing where this hotel is, I started to call the person who tell me about this place to be rented. And then she said, okay, I don't know, I'm going to make some call and see what can be done. Nevertheless, finally I found this hotel, and I parked up in the parking lot, and I was there, and I was like, God, why are you putting me through all of this? I know that you bring me here for a purpose, and I'm your daughter. And you promise, Lord, in your words that you'll never leave me nor forsake me. But God, I'm here with a young baby. It's dark. We don't know where we are at. Yes, we are in Huntsville, but I don't know nobody here. I am here alone. I have no family member here. And I had called this lady my angel. And she called on the phone, and she was like, I have somebody leaving out of my apartment, and I could get you in, but, he's a gentleman and he's not leaving until in the morning. I said, but she prayed with me on the phone. She talked with me. She made plans for me to go into the shelter, and I was like, okay. I was there for the night until someone else called and said, okay, you can come and bounce on our couch, because school would have already start the next day at Oakwood. I went on our couch. I went to school that day, and with my son, it was a rough night. We went to Oakwood, and I did everything that I could do that would make my day go well. Had my son pushing around in his stroller, and we, as I was walking throughout the day, I met Chaplain Pollard, Chaplain Man, her name is now, and she said, how are you doing today? You enjoying the day? Take a popsicle. And I said, okay, I'm here, but I'm a bit stranded. I have nowhere to live. And she said, oh, come on over here. Let me pray with you. And she prayed with me, and she said, give me your number and I'll inquire. And I told her that my major was nursing. And she said, okay, I'll inquire and I'll call you back and let you know. I was also speaking with my angel, as I would have called this lady that had spoken to me the night before. And she said, okay, she was going to meet up with me and bring me to the shelter the day. So we went to the shelter, and I was like praying. I said, God, I'm your child, and my people is just down the road. There's no way I should be in a shelter. But God, if this is where you want me to be, I will do it. But my people, Lord, are right there. And we were at the shelter, and as I was filling out the form, I started to cry, and I said, God, I'm your daughter, and you have brought me this far. Your promises are sure. And Lord, I'm not saying the shelter is not a good place to be, but God, you see the inconvenience where it is with my son and everything else. But whatever your plans are for my life, I'll just take it and I'll go by it. And when I was in the final interim of filling out this application for the shelter, Chaplain Man called, and I said, God, this is your answer. And she said, where are you? And I said, I'm at the shelter. And she said, no, I am coming for you. And she came for me and my son, and she said, I found somewhere for you to stay. We're going to go and meet the lady this evening. I said, thank you, Jesus. And I was just crying tears of joy. I said, God, you're always an on-time God, and your promises are always sure. So why not believe in you? And we went along the day, and I went and meet the family, Miss Hines, up in Blue Springs. I met this lady, and she was so nice. She was like, come on in. And she showed me around her place, and she said, okay, you can choose whichever room you want to stay in. And I chose the room, and I said to her, Madam, how much will you charge me to stay here per month? And she said, I'm not going to charge you. Why should I charge you? You're like my daughter. You can stay here as long as you want and, just go to school and do your stuff. And I said, God, I started to cry. I said, God, I just want to thank you. God just gave me an overpouring of blessing. And I stayed with this family, Mrs. Hines, Marva Hines, and she has another sister, Mrs. Wesley. And I stayed with them and for 1 whole year. And this lady has been my mentor, like a mother to me and my son. They always look out for me and make sure that, being a single mom, everything is going well and, I'm walking the path. And as time goes by, my car broke down. So I have no car to drive. And I see where God intervene again and have this student bring me, because I'm all the way in Blue Spring, and he had this student bring me morning and evening back and forth to school. It was like they were like my angel. There were students at Oakwood, but after a while they just disappeared. They're just like, okay, we're leaving. And I was like, God, how am I gonna work it out? And God said, don't worry. And this family in Georgia, my brother and his daughter had a car, a BMW. And he said, I said, I don't have any car to drive. I have my son. This is, I need something to drive. Buses don't run this place as how it should be. And they said, come. And the next moment I knew I was driving a BMW on campus. Mark you, I'm a single mom. I have no job. I'm a nursing student. And God was just overpouring me with his blessings. And I've been driving my BMW, and I was not selfish with my blessings. I have always been a mentor to majority of the students on campus. I've been there encouraging them, motivating them, and they would take changes and take care of my son. Sometimes I have to go to classes. I have no one to keep my son. I don't know anybody here. I don't have a job, but God always provide a student who would intervene and say, Miss Christine, let me take your son for you. Miss Christine, he can stay with me tonight. He can stay. And God just work it out for that whole year, and things work in and fall into place. As time goes by, my car, that BMW broke down again. And I said, Lord, what is it? How am I going to manage? It's winter, it's cold. I really live way in Blue Spring. God, can you work out something that I could come a little closer? Miss Marva Hines had a daughter that lives on Aspen Road and Sparkman. And she said, you can come over. And I went over Rosalia's house, and I stayed with her and her children, and they took care of us so well. I just want to give God thanks for all these people that intervened somewhere or someplace in my transition here in Huntsville. And I did very good in my classes as I move on and on into my nursing program. God worked it out that I was able to get into one of these housing on West Lake's apartment, and I had my own little apartment. And I also want to give hands out and heads up to Pastor Bird and his team there who had made this possible for me to move into this complex. And me and my son, we lived there, and we taking it one day at a time, but I need a new car. And I said, God, you have been coming through for me all this time, and I have no doubt that you will not. You told me Huntsville is where I'm supposed to be. Oakwood University is where I'm supposed to be, and I'm here, Lord. And I am believing that you promised me that a cattle on 1,000 hills belong to you. And you promised me that you'll never leave me. You promised me that everything will be sure. It may not be when I want it, but you promised me that you will be an on-time God. And because your promises are sure, and I believe your promises, Lord, I'm claiming them, that you're going to provide me a car. And God worked it out that I got a job at Huntsville Hospital to work as a tech on the cancer floor. And I was like just praising God. But I'm supposed to go to work and I have no vehicle to drive. The BMW just wouldn't start. And I said, God, please do something. And I went to the car dealer on a Ford car dealer on Jordan Lane, and I said, you know, I need a car. But I don't have any money, I don't have anything to put down to get this car, but I need to get a car so I can go to work. I just got this job, and this gentleman did everything possible, and I was able to drive out of that place with a car. And I said, God, you are such a mighty God. I just want to praise you. I just want to adore you for all that you have been doing. And God has been faithful to me and my son. You know, he always provided someone to stay with, to keep him for me when I have to go to work, or if I have classes. We always have some student who are willing to just come, Miss Haye, I'll take your son. Miss Christine, they call me. And, you know, therefore I use the opportunity to also encourage them and to motivate them. Try and get an education. Make the best of what you have now, because, you know, God promises are sure. And, you know, as a young person, at least I'm older than most of you guys, but I'm here to tell you, you know, being a single mom is not an easy task, but God has been carrying me and my son, and I'm faithful that he's gonna bring me through this 4 years of university. And he worked things out for me. I'm working, I'm taking care of my son, and he was going to the child development lab until God worked it out. Right now, at present, he's at the academy, and he's doing so good. And somebody's like, how do you send your son to the academy? You're a single mom. How do you find money to send him to a private institution? And I said, you know, God said a cattle on 1,000 hill belongs to him. And he promised me that he'll be my shelter in the time of storm. And because I believe in God and I believe in the power of prayer, that God can make a way and he can change things, and his promises are always sure. I live on God's promises. And I happened to fill the application out and get my son. I was trying to get this government grant for my son, and I was waiting up until the last minute. And they told me, you know, I am being denied because there's a lot of application in. And I said, Lord, what am I going to do? I have no money to pay the school fee for my son to go to Oakwood. And he said, don't worry, my child. Aren't I always come true for you? I said, yes, Lord, you have always been there for me. You have always come true. You have always make a way out of no way. Where? And I believe that you will come true for me today. And God have it that, you know, the church was trying to do their best to. Pastor Bird is so positive. He's like, Christine, you're going to do this. I love your spirit. I love your zeal. You can make it if you continue with that zeal. And I said, yes, I have to make it. There's no doubt about it. I have to make this work. I have to be a blessing to others, and I have to become a nurse, of which I want to be. And I enrolled my son to Oakwood. And the first amount of school fee was paid by a stranger, someone I just met along the way. And when they sent me the receipt and said, guess what, your son's school fee was paid, I was in awe. I was like, God, you just love to surprise me, don't it? He said, Christine, this is a reminder to tell you that my promises are sure, and I'm always going to be there for you. So don't feel surprised when you see the blessings come through for you. I promise that I will be with you. And today, you know, my heart is rejoicing. Yes, I have a little mishap wherein I didn't graduate on the time when I was supposed to graduate, but at the same time, I think God uses that as a purpose for me to be able to help someone else. I was able to be a tower of strength to my friends and those who I've come in contact with. And many are very zealous at my spirit. They constantly ask, Christine, how do you do it? You're always smiling. You're always being of help to someone else. You always act as if there's no problem in the world. And I said, I leave my hands in the hands of the one who rules this universe. And because he is always with me and he promised never to leave me, I am assured that he will carry me through all the storms that I may face time and time again. And today I want to be able to encourage someone who is out there. I want to let you know that when the storms of life are failing, when things and time seems like there's dark and arduous too, when life seems like there is no way out, remember God promises that he'll never leave you nor forsake you. He promises that your bread and water will be sure, and be assured that he will come true. It may not be when we want it, but he is an on-time God. He assures you that he will make a way out of no way for you. You just have to believe and trust him that he will be there for you. So don't be discouraged. Don't be disheartened. Just continue to hold fast to God's unchanging hand.